Are you wondering when to go to the hospital for labor? In this video, we are going to talk about just that and all the active labor signs and tips on what to do and how to speed up labor. Hi, my name is Dancee Pinkston, also known as Fearless Mama for those of you who don't know me. And this is part 2 of my labor signs and stages series, where I go into detail on the signs and what to do to promote an easier labor and birth. As my goal is for mamas, including myself, to experience a fearless birth. And sometimes that means informing yourself to promote an easier labor, such as learning about all the signs and what to do for active labor. And active labor comes right after the early phase of labor, which is in this video right here. If you haven't seen it already, I encourage you to watch that one first. With that being said, let's get started. So the active labor phase is much more predictable with longer, more intense contractions that are closer together. The body starts to move into more hormonal shiftings and changes, and this is definitely a phase where relaxation and concentration techniques are needed and the birth partner's role becomes way more prominent. So let's go into detail about the active labor signs. Contractions are 3 to 5 minutes apart, and the contractions are very predictable, lasting 60 seconds each. Dilation is usually from 6 centimeters to 8 to 9 centimeters, which is from the size of a cookie headed to a bagel. Mom at this point is usually able to relax, but is really having to focus on each contraction wave. Women describe it as catching them off guard and having to stop what they are doing to really cope and manage through those contraction sensations. This right here is a huge indicator that you are in active labor and a big sign that it could probably be time to go to the hospital or your place of birth. If you haven't already, go ahead and check out my video on what contractions feel like and the purpose so that you can be more familiar with these sensations. So some extra active labor signs that you may experience is pink spotting or bleeding. This is again caused by the rupture of small blood vessels in the cervix from lots of pressure being pressed on it. You may start to get a little emotional, usually from the ramp up of all the hormones or even just the discomfort itself. Another sign is that the body starts to clear out due to the hormones loosening up the pelvic muscles to prepare the body for birth and to make room for the baby to move deeper into the pelvis without anything getting in the way. So you may experience some diarrhea and the need to empty your bladder. You may also see some nausea and vomiting. The digestion process at this point typically stops working deeper into labor. So if you go into labor with a full stomach, you might find yourself feeling really nauseous and the need to throw up, especially as labor progresses. This also could be due just to all the hormone shifts or from the intensity of the labor contractions themselves. But you may experience more nausea if you've received an epidural because it can cause a drop in blood pressure, which causes nausea. You could even experience a hot or cold, sweaty feeling, which is just a sign that things are moving right along and you're either right at the transition phase, which is the next phase of labor, or getting super close to it. Another common thing that may happen during active labor is your water breaks, but it's common for it to stay intact longer. This occurs usually just from all the pressure or from the enzymes breaking down the amniotic sac. So what should you do to promote an easier active labor phase? As mentioned before, it might be a good time to go to the hospital, especially though if you're wanting to receive an epidural, because different hospitals have different protocols on when their time limit is for giving one. You could also use some pump up music, especially on the drive down to the hospital, which is distracting in a good way and also brings a lot of inspiration when you're really needing it. It also may be recommended to hydrate and possibly eat energizing liquid snacks. So what if you were wanting to speed up labor and speed up the active labor phase? My number one tip would be to use engaging techniques. These techniques help engage the baby's head and get them deeper and lower into the pelvis. Sitting in a hospital bed generally keeps you in a butt-tucking position and makes it much harder for the baby to descend down, making labor more rigid and longer than it should be. So if you're looking to speed things up, walking with free swaying thighs is recommended, doing deep squats like in a mid-eastern stance, or doing figure eights like a salsa dance on your exercise ball. You could also try the baby mama dance. If you're more curious about baby head engagement, check out my Spinning Babies Techniques video where I demonstrate all the exercises to increase baby head descent, engagement, and even spinning them into an optimal birthing position. So number 2, stay upright. So deeper into labor, you're not going to be able to do the baby mama dance and squats, especially as things get more intense. But I want to encourage you to be brave and keep moving positions. And the least you could do is just stay upright to keep working with gravity. You will not want to at this point, but it is going to be so beneficial to your labor and speeding it up and not waste any time with those contractions. Some great options for upright positions are sitting on the edge of the bed, sitting on an exercise ball with your booty untucked, standing and leaning into your partner, bed, table, or walls, or leaning over a ball in the hands and knees position, also known as kneeling. You could try toilet sitting or using a squat chair, and also squatting in the bath is great too. If you're feeling major discomfort, there are tools you can use to help relieve this. If you're seeing lots of irregular contractions or hard or stalled or lots of back labor, you may want to ask yourself what the baby's positioning is. It's best to have your baby in the most optimal birthing position before labor starts, but things can be unpredictable and babies can spin around and move around whenever they want to and can definitely play a role in all that back labor and stalled labor you could be having. In my Spinning Babies exercise techniques video, I go over a technique called the abdominal lift and tuck, which is great for if the baby's head may be stuck or resting on the mom's pubic bone. Also, lots of sunny side up babies tend to give you lots of hard back labor. So you'll definitely want the tricks to spin that baby around even in active labor. Another thing you could do is use the shower head to target specific areas or get into the warm tub. Warm water seems to have almost magical powers at relieving pains during labor. You could also have your partner be doing labor massages, counter pressure, or pressure points. Massaging techniques are huge for promoting an easier labor and working through pain management, which I would love to talk to you more about in another video. Aromatherapy is another great option to encourage relaxation and helping you stay present. You could also state your birth affirmations or motto while using your mindful breathing techniques. Breathing techniques are so beneficial for having an easier labor and keeping pain management under control, which I talk all about in another video. Hopefully you have a better understanding of the active labor signs, knowing exactly what to do, when to go to the hospital, and how to speed up labor. Well, that's all I have for you in this video. Make sure to check out the rest of my labor signs and stages series because part 3 is on the most intense part of birth, the transition phase, so you don't want to miss those tips on what to do. As always, thanks for watching and see you in the next video.